We want to set up a company with a strong culture of dedicated, hardworking, highly collaborative, high candor, high execution, but one that is sort of organized around how do we work well together? How do we, create a safe enough environment where people can be themselves, where they can bring their best selves to work and bring their best ideas.
Welcome to the Learn Podcast, where we interview top leaders in tech and learn about how they're building the world's most innovative companies. I'm Ted Blosser, CEO and co-founder of WorkRamp, the world's first learning cloud platform. Our mission is to help professionals reach their full potential through learning, and the Learn Podcast is where we can learn from the best leaders at the top of their game. Please subscribe, leave us a rating, and we hope you enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Learn Podcast. For this episode, I'm going to share a little bit more about my conversation with Aaron Levie that we had at the end of last year. If you don't know Aaron Levie, he's the CEO and co-founder of Box. And Box is a almost $4 billion market cap company, which focuses on what we call the content cloud. Now, I used to work at Box, so it was really fun interviewing Aaron, and we talk about a range of topics around building an amazing executive team and managing them well, all the way to how do you evolve your culture over time. He's been the CEO of Box since about 2005, so he's coming across his 20-year mark. And I like to call he's one of those old souls of Silicon Valley where he's seen it all. He's still very young, but has almost seen every variation of how to build a SaaS company in this environment and in future environments. He was also recently on the BG2 podcast, which is the new Brad Gerstner and Bill Gurley podcast. And you could tell he's on the cutting edge of where the technology market is headed. He's very advanced in things like AI, spatial computing, and much more. And so if you're looking at learning from someone who has not only done it over the last 20 years, but is also on the forefront of building the best tech companies in the world, Aaron is definitely someone to listen to. So we'll tune in to the recording here and hope you enjoy it. Hey everyone, welcome to our fireside chat. We have a special guest here, Aaron Levie, CEO of Box. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ted. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Aaron, to kick us off, I actually went throughout my whole house. And for those of you who don't know, I worked at Box for Aaron. And I found my oldest piece of swag. It's an old Box mug, but it says Cloud Content Management. So you haven't changed your vision much, which is very consistent. It says www.box.net.
Wow. You have a .net relic. That's incredible.
Well, the question I want to start with is, what was your first piece of swag you remember making for Box?
First piece of swag, there was a Justin Timberlake, Andy Samberg SNL skit that is not work appropriate. I'm not going to recite it here, but it was on SNL, and so we were young kids back then, so we made a T-shirt that had the same tagline as that skit. So I'll let people kind of look it up on their own. But that was probably the first piece of swag I remember, was us stealing that marketing tagline.
Well, leave that to the imagination. But I also found an old sweater, which I keep.
Okay, good sweater.
So my whole wardrobe, I don't even have much WorkRamp stuff. It's still all Box. So thanks for all the swag through the years.
We're just trying to keep you clothed, man. That's all.
Well, today's conversation is going to be really fun. I'm actually going to base our conversation off of a book you actually made us all read when we joined Box. It was Andy Grove's High Output Management. And what I love to do is talk about how do we get high output from various stakeholders that we interact with. This will be from executives to employees, all the way out to investors. And we love to get your tips. You've been doing Box for almost 2 decades now. And so you're like the elder statesman. So you could share all this great knowledge with us. Well, the first area I love to pick your brain on is the executive team. You actually have a very stable, strong executive team now, and you've gone through multiple iterations in different phases of Box. So I'd love to hear from you. What are your tips from getting the most out of your executive teams?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, certainly the team always, any kind of team naturally evolves because the problem that you're solving in the business evolves. And so you have to ensure that, fundamentally for any talent decision, your talent has to align with, where the company is going. And then that talent, has to organize in a team, and that team has to be able to be also effective for where the organization's going. So you can have the world's, greatest individual contributor for where your business is going, but if you can't ensure a strong team dynamic and get the most out of the whole team with that individual, then it doesn't work. And so we've certainly evolved our organization to ensure that we've got the right talent for where the business is going. And I'm extremely happy about where the team is and where the team has been to be able to get us to this spot. I think it's a mix of ensuring that you have highly complementary players on the team, people that are able to solve the types of problems that maybe their peer doesn't solve. So everybody's sort of fitting in this mosaic. Some people are maybe incredible operationally, but that's balanced out by somebody who's incredible on strategy. And so how do you make that whole kind of team gel with different kinds of talents, different kinds of skill sets? And how do you enable them to all be incredibly effective in what they're great at? And then hopefully the sum of the parts is kind of, greater than those individual parts. So we spend a lot of time just cultivating the right kind of team, the right kind of camaraderie, the right kind of collaboration, openness, transparency, a high degree of candor, calling out challenges when we see them, debating those challenges, but then fundamentally aligning against a set of goals and executing on that. That's kind of like the whole set of lessons that we've learned. Again, we strive for an open and candid culture, but one that is going to be hopefully very ambitious and set big goals, and then go rally the organization in the direction to go achieve those goals.
How has your personal style evolved? And I've been doing this a lot less time as you have been doing. I've only been doing it for 8 years, and I've seen my direct style evolve. Has yours evolved? And I'd love to hear, maybe even specifically, how do you go manage Stephanie to have the best output? Anything that has changed in your mindset over the years?
Yeah.
Manage even execs?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably am the kind of classic founder on the standpoint of when we started, I wanted to be involved in everything, and I wanted my hands on everything, just because every decision was, at least to me, life or death. And if we made one wrong turn, it could end the company. And so that pressure, unfortunately, I converted that pressure into a form of energy, which is just then I have to know what is going on everywhere. I have to be involved to make sure the right decisions are getting made. And that sort of, probably works when you're in pure survival mode, or, Ben Horowitz has this idea of wartime mode, where you really have to just convert into, we love everybody's opinions, but we have to make quick decisions. And these are high stakes decisions. So by definition, the CEO or founder is going to be even more actively involved and engaged in those kinds of decisions. So over time, though, when you're not always in this wartime mode, you do need, kind of stable execution. It's not necessarily peacetime, because I don't think any startup really gets to experience peacetime, but you're not always in those sort of life or death decisions on a daily basis. And so the more run rate is, how do you delegate the right kinds of work to the team? Your role as a founder or CEO becomes a bit more around cultivating talent, cultivating the team dynamic, ensuring and enabling and orchestrating collaboration to the extent possible. Obviously, layering in when you have strong opinions, but doing your best to sort of pull out the best ideas from people. And so over the years, I've tried to get better at how do I exploit all of this amazing talent that's in the organization, get out of the way when people are doing great work and executing, and certainly don't interrupt or confuse that kind of work, but step in when there are challenges and where we do need to be decisive, and we can't kind of punt on difficult decisions. And so that's sort of been the role evolution that I've had to take on, and I think you have, and really any leader, whether you're a CEO or any kind of individual manager of a team.
I love that evolution. I still remember when I was a PM, you would just ping me, I think I was on vacation or something, and you asked about specific feature, about a specific launch. How does Aaron even know that? But you were in wartime mode. You knew what you needed to get done. But I love to see how you've evolved. All right, let me switch gears into employees. So for those of you who have never worked at Box, Box has literally the best culture of any company at tech. I always say that is the secret sauce of Box beyond anything, is the great culture it's fostered and the amazing people that have come from it. So I'm curious, Aaron, give us some tips on how do you, one, build such a great culture, but then also two, drive great output from your teams, for example, like Box being profit or cash flow positive now as an example, where you're still like doing all the culture things and still making money and being efficient. How do you do that in this day and age?
You have to define the culture that you want. And I don't know that there's a sort of a universally good culture, because each organization needs to be optimized around a different set of attributes culturally. And sometimes that's driven by founders, sometimes it's driven by leadership teams, sometimes it's driven by the market reality and kind of business that you're in. If you're in a logistics business where every single second of every day and every utilization level matters, then your culture is obviously going to veer toward more things like operational excellence of every single minute, every single dollar that has to be high impact. If you're in maybe more of the software business or innovation business, you probably have to foster a level of creativity and almost environments where people can bring great ideas to life, and you're going to debate those ideas, and doesn't mean it's like everything's happy-go-lucky and everybody gets to just run around and innovate all the time. You have to have hard conversations and hard decisions, but you do need to foster an environment that has a certain kind of culture as well. And so I think there's kind of an infinite set of cultures because every company is by definition having to do something slightly different in the market if they're going to succeed. And so then there's a correspondingly different set of cultures out there. So for us, we defined 7 core values that we said were the values that we would live by as an organization. And it's a mix of what we want to do as a company, not at a strategy level, but the kind of what in terms of how we operate. And then a little bit of the how we do that, the style and the trust and the sort of healthy dynamics we want to create in the ways in which we work. And so our values are things like we want to have 10x ideas. And this was actually, it's an Andy Grove idea, which is how do you have kind of 10x performance improvement on what we're innovating on? How do we have breakthrough ideas? Customers generally only pay for things that are 10x cheaper, 10x faster, 10x more innovative, because it's a lot to change what you're currently using. These are why incumbents always tend to win, is because change is hard. So as a startup, you have to be 10 times better at what you're delivering. And so one of our core values was let's be 10x better in the areas that really, really matter. And how do we be disruptive in the areas where customers are going to value that? Another core value we had was blow our customers' minds. And this was this idea that we just need to do everything we can to make our customers wildly successful with our software. And that means anybody in the company needs to step up and make sure that we're doing what is best for our customer base. Then we balance that with another core value of make mom proud. And this was this idea where we want to have an organization and a culture where people interact with each other, where we collaborate with one another in a way that we can be proud of, and that we know that if you were kind of looking into the business, you would be proud of how people were acting and operating with one another. So those are the core values that we set up, and then we define those very relatively clearly. And over the years, we kind of continue to iterate on them and craft them. But the key is to reinforce them across the business. So every new employee that comes in, every moment that we have as a company to remind people about the values. Unfortunately, in situations where maybe somebody doesn't work out, living by our values and how we sort of are, making those kinds of decisions. That's how we've reinforced that over time. And so we want to set up a culture. We want to set up a company with a strong culture of dedicated, hardworking, highly collaborative, high candor, high execution, but one that is sort of organized around how do we work well together? How do we, create a safe enough environment to, where people can be themselves, where they can bring their best, best selves to work and bring their best ideas. And so that's the environment we've created. And then we align that to a set of, hopefully again, ambitious goals and targets and an operating model that lets people go and execute against those goals. And I think that's sort of what has allowed us to build that cohesive culture over the years and where we've landed today.
Hey everyone, I want to take a quick commercial break and tell you about the company that produces this podcast. I co-founded WorkRamp back in 2015, and our mission has always been the same: to help professionals reach their full potential through learning. As part of that mission, we've built the world's first learning cloud, an all-in-one platform for your employee, partner, and customer learning needs. If your company is looking for a learning management system, also known in the industry as an LMS, we'd love to talk to you. You can reach us at our website, workramp.com, or you can even email me directly at ted@workramp.com, and I'll get you in touch with our team. Hope you're enjoying the episode, and back to the show. Box has been around for about 18 years. Let's call it product market fit, 15, 16 years or so. Have you seen, like, if you take a step back, have there been big like phase shifts of the culture? Like how many, or has it been pretty consistent the whole time in your mind? Like, or would you tell the story differently?
I think the culture has certainly evolved as we've scaled, but the thing I've been very happy with is there are some things that naturally just definitionally change. When you're 50 employees, right? You can get in a room, make a decision, and like a week later, the product could pivot. And you're doing that, again, out of survival, out of trying to find that product market fit. And at 2,500 employees, we probably can't do that as easily, but we wouldn't really want to. You want stability, you want consistency, and then you want compounding value to get created. Any company that's sort of changing its strategy every year or 2 years, you're probably not getting the benefits of that compounding nature of software, at least in our industry. But ultimately, we want a culture where we can line up against a set of goals and go and execute on those. And as we've scaled, I think we've just been able to do that better because you get more at bats, you get more feedback loop of what's working and what doesn't. If I look back at our operating system as an organization for things like goal setting or aligning the company on goals, 12 years ago, it probably looked very different than it does, today or the past 5 years, because we tried a bunch of things and we iterated, and now we think we've landed in something that is a sort of sustainable approach to that type of thing. Similarly, the way we made hiring or firing decisions may have been a little bit different 10 or 15 years ago, but over the years, you kind of build that feedback loop, and then we've improved things, and now we've landed in a spot that we think we're good at, we're good with, and that we think is sort of best for us. And so we kind of do that by category: hiring, goal setting, business processes, how we drive execution. That has evolved over the years. I think the parts that are universal and timeless are just like, what are your core values? What's the mission of the company? These things have, remained relatively stable over time.
I will say you also did a great job. If you're adjusting the culture, you would make it fun. And we've stole one, Burn Busters from Box.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
We use Burn Busters and it's really saving money in the company, but you made that fun where it's like, hey, it's no longer about spending all the money we can to grow. It's about being efficient. And we've used that internally for our WorkRamp 2.0.
Oh, cool.
It's learned from you because you made it a fun culture shift as well. So let's close off. I want to talk about one last area, which is customers. And what I love to learn from you is, and I'm going to frame it this way: how do you get the most out of your customer base when we talk about high output? What's the best way for you now? Have you evolved your thinking? There's things like user conferences, like BoxWorks, to new products, to like just showering them with CS resources. How has your viewpoint evolved on how do you get the most from your customer base where they become loyal followers of your brand and your business?
You have to start with what are you doing for them, kind of almost obviously. To the extent possible, everywhere across the business, we are as organized and aligned on this mission of making our customers just incredibly successful. And, again, this value of blow our customers' mind is sort of, deeply enforced across the organization at all levels of leadership. And this could be everything from, if we have a site incident, how quickly are the engineering and infrastructure teams going to rally against that, to if we have an individual customer issue, top to bottom, how aligned are we at going and solving that customer problem. And so I think you have to, establish a culture of being customer first, customer-centric. And then when you do that, you then get the benefit of your customers want to tell you, things. What new feature do they want? What better ways could you serve them? What markets should you be, entering? We are always listening to our customers at all times. We encourage, anyone in the company to be, pinging the product team or me if they are running into customer feedback or ideas that we should be listening to. Probably 95% of what we build as a company is coming from customer feedback. It doesn't mean that they're literally submitting a request and then we're building that, but the ability to listen to and synthesize all the different ideas and things that we're hearing from customers and then converting that into our strategy is sort of what we're doing all day long, whether it's explicit or kind of almost implicit in how we operate. So I'm a massive believer that all value eventually comes from customers in terms of what you need to do for them. And then it has to be extremely aligned to what you're doing has to be extremely aligned to their needs and wants and wishes. And so we've just tried to, again, build a a very customer-centric, customer-first organization to go and drive that.
I could attest that. There's a story where we had customers who were stuck in an elevator at headquarters, and Aaron went to go talk to the customers that are stuck there, asking for feedback, pitching them box. Do you remember that story at all?
Well, I think that's like the definition of a captive audience. So, I definitely exploited that opportunity. But probably the bigger lesson there is like get better elevator maintenance. I don't think you ever want customers stuck in an elevator.
I'm gonna go dig this video up somewhere in my box archives.
I'd love to see that one. So,
all right, Aaron. Hey, really appreciate the time you spent with us. We learned so much today from you, and best of luck with everything.
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate it. And great to see you folks, and have a great conference, and go WorkRamp.
Thanks for listening to the Learn podcast. If you're a fan of the podcast, do us two favors. One is subscribe to it so you can get the latest update of our most recent episodes. And two, write a short review of the podcast. This helps us get discovered in the broader podcast community. Thanks again.